Hi, everyone. It's really amazing to be part of this festival, Reimagining Medicine. My name is Shey Rivera Ríos. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm an artist of multiple mediums, interdisciplinary. I'm also an arts administrator and a cultural strategist. So I wanted to share a piece of art with you in the spirit of this festival and the impact that medicine and health have in our communities. It became really important to share my first official art piece with you all. So I hope you enjoy this, and I'll also talk a little bit about my background from Boriquen, Puerto Rico, and how, I use artwork to talk about social issues that impact our communities. So I'm going to share a screen. So I'm Shey Rivera Ríos. I come from Puerto Rico, born and raised there. This is a photo of my town. I'm a rural kid. This is a photo of musicians in my town that I intervene. I do a lot of collage work and performance art, video installations, the works. And I was born and raised there, but I've been living in Providence, Rhode Island for the past 10 years. So this is an image of the lovely island that is still the oldest colony of the United States of America. And this is an image of Rhode Island, where I live now. This is a piece I wanted to share with you. It's called PRX, The Third Conquest. It was a piece done in 2009, the first official art show I was a part of. So interesting, just so much time has passed by. And this piece in particular was so important to me because it really was the first time that I saw myself as an artist, and I started to weave social issues with creative practice. So this is a map of Puerto Rico. It is done in umbrella fabric, similar fabric to, disaster relief, where people use tarps on their ceilings. And then it's actually the map, all the map is done in psychopharmaceuticals, all of them. There are so many, and they all came from a single person, which was my mother. My mother, who I love really dearly and also has mental illness. She was a person that really suffered the weight of the medical system in the island, had to be detoxed several times, was overprescribed, just everything was just so awful back then. And still to this day, there's so much work to be done. So these are all psychopharmaceutical pills, and it wasn't even a third of the pills that she had in her house. She gave me permission and consent to make this piece precisely because she wanted to bring attention to this situation after we spoke about it. Acknowledging that it was a big problem in our island, the overprescription of people, of residents, especially of women. So yeah, this is a very large piece. It's 8 by 4, I believe, or 8 by 6, something like that, very large. And all of this is the outline of the island, the archipelago of Puerto Rico, because it is an archipelago, and all the municipalities that comprise our people in the island. This is another side, another photograph. These are so old, oh my God, but I thought it was amazing to get a chance to share this work with you in the spirit of thinking about how medicine impacts our communities. So, with this, I wanted to read a few historical pieces to help understand and guide the history of medicine in the island and why I made this piece. Obviously, I made this piece because I love my mother and she was suffering at the hands of the medical system. And also it was a larger societal problem. So PRX Conquista 3 delineates a map of Puerto Rico made out of genuine psychopharmaceuticals donated by a single individual, my mother. This is a reflection on the government's decision to create tax incentives for pharmaceutical companies to move into the island and the implications of over-medication. It proposes that the third conquest of the island, my motherland, was by pharmaceutical companies. And when I say third conquest, Puerto Rico was a territory of Spain, and in 1898 was occupied by the US. So that was the second colonization of the island. This piece was shown in a group show called Colectivo Presenta Crisis about the burgeoning crisis, humanitarian crisis in the island starting in 2009. So all these things have been going on for quite a while. And it's only been, you know, a few years that we have started to name what is happening in Puerto Rico as a humanitarian crisis right after Hurricane Maria. Great. And this is a very old photo as well. It's so interesting to find these documents later. But this is a map of all the pharmaceutical companies that existed in Puerto Rico in the 90s, when these tax incentives were passed to colonize the island in another way, which basically meant to, you know, attract US businesses, but US businesses were not paying any income tax, any taxes that would stay in the island. So that is one of the origins of Puerto Rico's humanitarian crisis and financial crisis. It's the fact that all these corporations moved to the island. They made millions of dollars that did not go into the Puerto Rican economy except for jobs. And then when they left, because the tax incentive law, there was a tax law passed to cancel out those tax incentives, they left and people remained without jobs. So I'll just read you a little bit of where that comes from. It really comes from Operation Bootstrap. So in May 1947, the Puerto Rican legislature passed the Industrial Incentives Act, eliminating all corporate taxes to encourage US investment in industry. This was proposed by Senator and future Governor Luis Muñoz Marin of the Popular Democratic Party and became known as Operation Bootstrap. Operation Bootstrap intended to move Puerto Rico away from its agrarian system and into an industrial economy. The government's Administration of Economic Development, today known as the Puerto Rico Industrial Development Company, PRIDCO, encouraged the establishment of factories, and the US government in Puerto Rico enticed US companies by providing labor at costs below those on the mainland, access to US markets without import duties, and profits that could transfer to the mainland free from federal taxation. Another piece of history was the forced sterilization of women in the island between the 30s and 70s. Approximately 1/3 of the female population of the island of Puerto Rico was sterilized, making it the highest rate of sterilization in the world. This was a tactical experiment or strategy toward colonization of the island. So it was referred to as La Operación. And there's a documentary from 1982 that I encourage y'all to see that really takes a hard look at the history of family planning and the development of contraceptives by exploiting women in Puerto Rico. So this was part of colonizing the island. The Puerto Rican and US government wanted to make Puerto Rico more modern and more economically successful, and rooted in that idea was that Puerto Rico was overpopulated. So there was a dual plan to increase national success, what they called national success. The first part of the plan in the 40s and 60s was to promote migration to New York and other parts of the US. That's involuntary migration, no matter what they say. The second aspect entailed the promotion of sterilization as the best form of birth control for women. And this was horrifying because a lot of rural women were forced or coerced into getting sterilized. And many of them also did not know that it was for the long term. So this happened, and it says it really clear in one of these articles. Puerto Rican women became the guinea pigs for US pharmaceutical companies who were developing the modern birth control pill. And I just wanted to share these pieces with you because it's part of my history. We're all responsible as US citizens to take care of people in Puerto Rico, other US citizens, people who are part of the US as a colony. And just atrocities continue to happen, and not enough attention is being given to the ways in which policy, medicine, economic development are used as tools to oppress and harm people. So I really appreciate your time. My name is Shey Rivera Ríos. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook as @SheyRiv, and my website is sheyrivera.com. You can see a lot of my artwork there, and just please stay in touch. Thank you.